Focus. Ideate. Innovate. Enable.
Hello and welcome to the Forbes IndiaMart CEO Club in partnership with Google Cloud, a unique series that recognizes and celebrates India's finest CEOs. It hasn't been the best of times for the Indian auto industry. Sales have dropped for 12 of the past 13 months since July 2018. How does an OEM navigate a market like this, grow sales, make technology investments, and comply with constantly changing regulations? To find out, I have with me Guenter Butschek, Managing Director and CEO of Tata Motors Worldwide. Guenter, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Guenter, the financial year 2019 was very good for Tata Motors. What contributed to the positive performance?
The very good is possibly even an understatement. It was, according to our track record, the best year in the last decade. But coming back to your question, what actually made it a good year? The good year was largely triggered and the basis was put in place in the first half of the year, where at least commercial vehicles performed still very strong across the range of products. And on passenger vehicles, the first quarter was an exceptionally good one. The second quarter towards the end, we saw some weaknesses, in particular because of the beginning crisis in the NBFCs and the consequent constraint on liquidity. The second half actually turned out as a challenge. But it was fortunately not a challenge to the extent that it fully wiped out the strong first half of the year. But it actually gave us a good flavor that this industry might not grow as initially expected, and that we would face significant structural challenges in PV as well as in CV for different reasons.
Conditions are quite adverse as I see it, but how does a CEO look at navigating through such conditions as far as future investments are concerned?
It's a very sensitive topic. So far we have been able, and it's indeed a strong commitment coming from the management and reinforced also by our board. We don't compromise on the future. You know, we have started a product offensive. The product is just a part of a larger play as far as the profitable growth strategy and turning PV as well as CV in a substantial cash accretive business. There's a large play around it that goes into structure, it goes into, and it actually starts with culture, it goes through people, it goes into structured processes through the entire value chain, and most prominently it's known at Tata Motors as the turnaround 1.0, 2.0. We haven't called out the turnaround 3.0, although the situation has further deteriorated, because we believe that we have been able to change the culture. We have brought speed, simplicity, agility to Tata Motors, and these are the key ingredients to manage the present challenges, as well as to take care of the future. So the recipe for the CEO is manage your current challenge while you keep your strategic agenda intact, in order to make sure that as you get out of the crisis, you actually have a much stronger play for the future, and that you can actually leverage your full potential.
Okay. A lot of OEMs get competition from technology companies in areas like cab aggregation, electric mobility, self-driving cars. In that context, how has Tata Motors planned its portfolio for the future?
Look, what you have just mentioned is what we generally call disruption. And disruption is indeed threefold. It's technology, it's business models, it's partnerships. Let's come back to the three dimensions. As far as technology is concerned, we have our strategic technology roadmap, as we do have a strategic product portfolio. This has been very well synchronized. It's anchored in our strategies for the two business units, respectively, ever since we launched the third vertical for electrification and e-mobility. It's also synchronized there, and if you actually would have it here on the table, you read it across, it's a very consistent approach, how we actually leverage technology, not considering it as a threat. You very often in the industry hear that's a threat. We take it as opportunity, because the Indian market is, from my point of view, mature. They actually get taken to the next level, where technology as a disruptive factor can also change the opportunities, or can help to leverage the opportunities provided in a market which is poised to become the third largest market globally. This is one of the angles which we need to take into consideration.
And how
if we also would like to claim a revenue share in the future as far as these kind of mobility concepts are concerned.
Okay. As this transition is taking place, you also have a near-term deadline of April 2020 when it comes to the Bharat Stage 6. What did that transition involve from BS4 to BS6?
It's the single largest investment on a cumulative basis Tata Motors has ever performed. Because the switch to Bharat 6, and we talk about the journey BS4 to BS6 in a second, includes all of our powertrain solutions, and it includes all of our products, because it's not just about having the powertrain suitable for BS6 and meeting the requirements, the certification requirements, it's the application. And if you now have a brief look product portfolio, all the passenger vehicles, all the commercial vehicles, from a small commercial vehicle all the way to a heavy duty truck, plus the buses, we have the largest range. And we had a starting point when the decision was made, and when we full-heartedly supported the request, the proposal of the government to move from BS4 straight to BS6 in a record time of just 3 years, while the rest of the world actually took 5 to 7 years for the same technology step, because we believe in the need of the hour to fight pollution, while at the same point of time to improve fuel efficiency. And BS6 is a significant step towards this one.
Has talent composition changed for Tata Motors as far as product development is concerned, because there's more software components now as part of what you're bringing to market? So how has it changed the way you hire people?
It's a more than valid question these days. I would actually put it twofold: talent and skills. And we have extremely talented engineers and talented people across the entire organization, but we need to keep them updated, because these days the old saying, learning is a lifelong experience, is these days more important than in the past, because I will not have the opportunity to actually do a kind of exchange program for my people.
True.
I need to qualify my people, while at the same point of time, each and every opening, each and every fresh recruitment from the university, each and every external recruitment for management positions need to be in line with these new requirements.
Okay. Guenter, thanks for making time and sharing your insights from the Tata Motors experience. Time for a short break, but do join me on the other side as I speak with another dynamic CEO scripting a digital future for his company. Welcome back. You're watching the Forbes India One CEO Club in partnership with Google Cloud, a unique series that recognizes and celebrates India's finest CEOs. IndiaMart Intermesh is a remarkable story in Indian e-commerce. The company was founded in 1996. In 2019, it went in for a public listing. Throughout this journey, founder and CEO Dinesh Agarwal has retained a strong focus on B2B e-commerce. He wanted to make the internet simple for a growing base that has now scaled up to 5.7 million sellers. To find out how, I have with me Dinesh Agarwal, CEO and founder of IndiaMart. Dinesh, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
As an internet platform, whom does IndiaMart serve? Can you talk to me about the user base?
So we serve all kind of businesses, whether it's small, medium or large businesses, Indian as well as international business. Today we have about 5.7 million suppliers registered on IndiaMart and about 93 million buyers which are registered on IndiaMart. We do about 4 crores buyer-supplier matchmaking every month.
How has this evolved across the 4 eras in which IndiaMart has operated?
So we started in 1996 in the early days when there was hardly any computers or internet here in India. However, I came from America and there it was quite popular by then. So we thought that Indian exports were very important for Indian economy point of view, and from the American importers point of view, there was no price opacity or information availability. So we started with that era, and in that era we were to receive inquiries from America by way of internet. Every night we used to print all those inquiries, fax them overnight and send them by post by the next day or so. So that continued for about 5 years. And then somewhere around 99 2000, when the internet boom happened, post that real export internet started. And that was the era when you focused on computers, when you focused on email, when you focused on content building, more suppliers, more exporters online. So I think from 2001 to 2006, that was the second era of the computer. Then third era that we felt, somewhere around 2007-8, that Indian export started to flatten out.
Okay.
And the mobile phone, the erstwhile mobile phone, the voice-based mobile phone with SMS and call, that became very popular. So we had to completely reinvent ourselves from being a computer-based, email-based platform to more of a voice-based and SMS-based platform. And then last, I think, is the smartphone regime, which has transformed the entire internet era into a very different way. And we also thought in 2010 for the first time that we want to completely pivot from an export oriented business to a domestic B2B business. And that is when I think our growth started to happen in a very rapid pace. From a $10 million revenue business, now we are about almost like a $80-90 million revenue business.
Okay.
Yeah.
IndiaMart is stayed out of logistics and delivery. That's right. And what have the challenges been on account of that?
So we have been mostly a platform and technology platform, or a media come technology platform. We provide you content, we provide you matchmaking, we provide you prices, we provide you specification. But I think B2B has a variety of products and services. We are across 100,000 plus categories in India, and it is almost impossible for us to add value into the logistics or those things. The B2B sector automatically knows, and there is a lot of customization that goes on.
Okay.
People, it's not a 5 kg item or a 2 kg item off the shelf that you pick up and deliver it to your home. There is a lot of customization. It could be truckload, it could be a wagon load. So I think it is best that deliveries and terms and conditions of deliveries are left to the buyer and supplier each other.
Okay. Now, with 20 years of data on the IndiaMart platform, how are you able to harness external changes like artificial intelligence and machine learning?
In the last couple of years, especially last 3 to 5 years, earlier we were using that data by way of traditional algorithmic matchmaking. Now we find that there are many use cases for us to utilize machine learning and deploy artificial intelligence. I'll give you simple examples. The IndiaMart is a curated database of good businesses. A lot of telemarketers try to use that to spam or to sell their service.
Okay.
Now, how to identify which particular call is a genuine call or a spam or a selling call?
Okay.
Earlier, listening to the calls was almost impossible to be able to do that. Now there is a complete text to voice to text algorithm behind that, and it automatically searches the patterns and identifies whether it is a spam or not. Similarly, there are suppliers who say furniture supplier. They will say that I can do all kind of furnitures, chair, sofa, table. However, we know as per his behavior, he is only doing mostly sofa set and dining table. But that particular information, because on his website all the 100 products are written, but which two are his bread and butter and where he is more likely to get converted, that only his behavior can tell. And then if we use machine learning to get our machine to learn each supplier's behavior, each supplier's locational behavior, each supplier's price behavior, quantity behavior, we are able to do a very effective matchmaking on the buyer side. Similarly, we are a marketplace. A lot of people try and sell anything and everything. There could be banned substances. There could be banned items which are not allowed onto the marketplace.
Okay.
And how to utilize every product that goes through. Humans can't even identify. It is only the AI and ML which can sort them out that this particular image is not right for the platform.
Okay. Dinesh, thanks for your time. Time for a short break, but do join me on the other side as I speak with another CEO scripting a digital future for his company. Welcome back. You're watching the Forbes India One CEO Club in partnership with Google Cloud, a unique series that recognizes and celebrates India's finest CEOs. Our next guest was already an established CEO in the software industry when he took a deep interest in genetics from 2009 onwards. Very quickly, he realized that many global genomic projects did not have indigenous DNA samples from India and Asia. He co-founded Medgenome in 2013 to solve that very problem. Today, several pharmaceutical and biotech companies depend on companies like Medgenome for targeted therapy and faster innovation. To find out more, I have with me the chairman and CEO of Medgenome, Mr. Sam Santosh. Sam, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Sam, 2 decades in the software industry, in product engineering, what drew you to genetics?
Yeah, in around mid-2000, the Human Genome Project got complete. And that was the first time a genome of a human being was sequenced. And that attracted a lot of publicity. And I also wondered what is happening and what is the impact of this. So that got me interested into the subject. And then it was like the start of a long journey.
Did your legacy in product engineering have any role to play at all in terms of the intersection of genetics and technology?
Very much so, because though I was in product engineering, the main parts we were focusing on was system level programming. So we would handle a lot of source code, whether it was the operating system or device drivers, or filters and things like that. So I was always amazed at the power of the source code, right? And when the genome was sequenced, I felt like a very similar situation where you're actually getting the source code of life. And then you're getting the power, right, of what you would get from like just doing another program. You are being able to analyze and understand the source code of not only humans, but any living organism.
What's the technology apparatus that's needed for genetic sequencing?
Basically you can see genetic sequencing as 2 parts. One part you can call the wet lab, where you go through a number of steps of actually taking a DNA out of a material, whether it is blood or tissue, and then magnifying the DNA and then putting it into so-called a sequencing machine, which would convert that biological material and get the source code. The source code basically is 4 letters here, in this case 4 chemicals, which DNA is made of. So that 4 chemicals, 4 letters that you get. So that is one part of the process. For that you need very expensive machinery, nice high quality lab to avoid contamination and all that. But that is half the story. The other half is the investment and the infrastructure needed for analyzing this data. Because though we say 4 letters, a human being's code runs into terabytes, repeat of these letters. So getting the data out, doing the quality check, because the DNA is cut into many small pieces before they are sequenced. That's a technology that came out. So you're stitching it back and trying to get the order of the letters becomes tough. So you need to have a lot of quality checks. Then once you get that and get that part of the data, then you need a lot more tools to figure out what that means. So this is the second part of it. So both these need a lot of money as well as time and knowledge.
Could you outline the business itself for Medgenome? Who does the company serve?
Yeah. So Medgenome has 2 lines of business. One line, which is you can say the basic core, is the diagnostic services that we provide here. So just like the way these technologies were not there before, when it came, it enabled a set of new tests or new diagnostics. So these new diagnostics doesn't replace old tests. So they're completely enlarging the market with a set of tests across many domains that can give more light into why somebody got a disease. Hey, was a gene responsible for that disease, right? So that is a new set of findings. So that enabled the diagnostic business to grow. So that is, we were the pioneers in India to start genetic testing using DNA sequencing. And that is one part of the business that has grown well. Now, as this grew, we started getting projects from pharma companies. They were more than happy to give us projects where we could sequence and then share the insights of the data with them on a collaborative approach. So we keep, the data doesn't go out, we keep the data, but we allow them to study that and get insights from that. So that's the second line of business, which is mainly funded by pharma companies as well as academic labs, both in India and across the world. leading labs or have projects and they get grants. So these are the two revenue streams. So that is the core business of Medgenome. But lately in the last couple of years, we have been able to move more into licensing as well. So we get a third revenue, which is like we are able to provide tools and ability to analyze the data.
Okay. And how big is the network of the next generation sequencing labs for as far as Medgenome is concerned?
No, in this case, the investment is heavy, right? So we keep one centralized lab. So Bangalore is where our main centralized lab is, and equipments cost millions of dollars. So it's not possible or not needed to replicate these equipments across the country. So we do have smaller labs, mainly for doing fast turnaround tests, which may not do all the sequencing of the genes, but to look at maybe one gene in specific cases. So that way we have a few labs across the country, but our main focus is to bring the samples across to Bangalore and do it in our high throughput lab here. So this, for example, is the largest lab in this part of the world. Actually, in South or Southeast Asia, there is another lab with this much capacity.
Okay. What's the total headcount of Medgenome now?
Medgenome is about 500 people.
What's the road ahead now for genetic sequencing? What do you see as the future of Medgenome and the impact on the future?
Yeah, we are very much at a rapid growth stage, I think. So new things are coming up. Similarly, in cancer, liquid biopsy is coming up. That is just taking the patient's blood. Okay. You can look at the floating tumor cells and find out what cancer he has. So these type of things, the opportunities are becoming much bigger.
Okay.
So we see genomics being practically becoming used in a daily manner, right? And its applications having tremendous impact. I think what Eric Topol said, from womb to tomb.
Okay.
Your whole life cycle, you will be using genomics.
Okay. Sam, it was a delight speaking with you. Thanks for making time for this interview. That was Sam Santosh, Chairman and CEO of Medgenome, talking about the role of technology to help biotech and pharmaceutical companies innovate faster. It brings us to the end of this episode of the Forbes India One CEO Club in partnership with Google Cloud. But do join me next time as I meet another CEO scripting a digital future for his company. Until next time, goodbye.
Focus, ideate, innovate, enable.